Mahabharata, Chapter 7, The Conspiracy, read by Nirvan Bajaj and Ekveer Bajaj. Mahabharata, Chapter 7, The Conspiracy. Ved Vyasa's epic on the Bharat race was first recited in public by his disciple Vaishampayan at the behest of the ageless seer Vyasa himself. The recital took place in the august presence of King Janamjay, great-grandson of the grandson of Vyasa, and the many learned sages who had assembled for Janamjay's Sarpasatra. The sixth session of our rendering of Vaishampayan's recital of Vyasa's Mahabharata included the incidents that led to Karna swearing eternal loyalty to Duryodhana. It also told of how Drona, through his valorous disciple Arjun, avenged the humiliation he had suffered at the hands of Draupad, the Panchal king. Vaishampayan then continued. One day, soon after he had humbled Draupad, Drona addressed Arjun in the presence of the Kuru princes. He said, "With deep diligence I received the Brahmasharis from Rishi Agnivesa, who had acquired it from Rishi Agastya. And I have passed on that weapon which can annihilate the earth to you, because you alone deserve it. It is only proper that you give me my fee in the presence of your cousins." When Arjun gave his assent, the Guru said, "If ever I engage you in combat, you must fight with me without a moment's hesitation." And a year after Drona had humbled Draupad, Dhirtarashtra, having observed Yudhishthira to be firm, yet tolerant and scrupulously honest, installed him as the heir apparent. Within a short time, Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, with his good behavior, sagacity, and discernment, excelled his father Pandu in fame. Bhima, the second Pandav, took instructions from Balram in wielding the sword and the mace and in steering the chariot in the battlefield, and yet lived in peaceful accord with his brothers. Arjun was renowned for his strong grip, agility, marksmanship, and proficiency with diverse weapons. He was considered unrivaled by Drona. Sahadev learned all the precepts of morals and manners from Drona, who was in spiritual role akin to Brihaspati, the guru of the Devas, and lived in peaceful accord with his brothers. Nakul, the favorite of his brothers, earned fame as a wielder of unusual weapons and as an Athiratha. Athiratha means a warrior who is past master in the art of charioting. Indeed, Arjun and his brothers became mighty enough to slay Sauvir, who, during his 3-year-long yagna, had kept even the invading Gandhars at bay. And Arjun vanquished the Yavan king, whom even Pandu in days gone by could not. Then Vipul, who had shown scant respect for the Kurus, was also slain. And after Sumitra, also known as Dattamitra, and renowned for his power in battles, was subdued, the third Pandav in a single chariot and with Bhima in support put to rout the kings of East and their 10,000 chariots. In the same way he conquered the south and brought ample booty to the land of the Kurus. Thus did the Pandavas, having subjugated all other territories, extended their empire. But the tidings of gainful might of the Pandavas embittered Dhirtarashtra. Deeply distressed, he summoned Kanika, the counselor well versed in the science of politics, and said, "I envy the Pandavas their remarkable achievements. Should I have them as allies or as rivals? I shall abide by your counsel." That elated Brahman replied in words which were sharp and politically important. "Listen to me, O king, and do not be vexed with what I have to say. The might of the kings must be made explicit, with hands ready to strike. Slay your foe with gifts, kill him with discord or with force." And then Dhritarashtra asked, "How is a foe demolished best? By conquered, by propitiation, by discord, or by aggression?" Kanika replied, "Listen, O king, to the tale of the clever jackal who was a past master in the art of diplomacy. Supreme in self-interest, he lived in a forest with his 4 friends, a tiger, a mouse, a wolf, and a mongoose. One day they saw a fine stag which they could not seize because he was fast and strong. As they conferred among themselves, the jackal said, "O tiger, you have failed to get the stag because he is young, smart, and strong. Therefore, let the mouse eat away his feet when he is asleep. The stag with the gnawed feet can then be felled by the tiger, and then all of us shall feast on him." They did as they had planned. The mouse ate into the feet of the stag and the tiger killed it. The jackal looked at the carcass of the stag and said, "I shall keep watch over this till you come back after your ablutions." Listening to the jackal, the others adjourned to the river nearby, and the jackal stood there in deep thought. The mighty tiger was the first to return. He saw the brooding jackal and said, "Is that you who are so clever? Looks vexed. Let us feast ourselves on this flesh." The jackal replied, "O ferocious one, the mouse claims that his might fell the stag, and it is his might that will feed you, the king of beasts. His boastful words have made this meal distasteful to me." The tiger replied, "If those are his words, I shall kill my prey with my own hands and then eat it." The tiger went a-stalking, and the mouse reached the spot. The jackal said to him, "Listen to what the mongoose has said to me. He said the carcass is poisoned by the tiger's claw. I will not eat of it. Instead, O jackal, if you permit, I shall make a meal of the mouse." Hearing those words, the mouse scuttled off into his hole. And then there arrived the wolf, and the jackal said to him, "The king of beasts is set against you, and he is coming here with his mate. It portends ill for you. Now do as you please." The wolf, though hungering for the meal, was turned away thus by the words of the jackal. And then came the mongoose to him, and the jackal said, "I have driven away the others with the might of my arms. Fight with me and then eat of this flesh." The mongoose replied, "When you have overcome the fierce tiger and the wolf and the cunning mouse, I am no match for you." The mongoose scampered away, and the jackal had that flesh all to himself. "Thus, O king, should your enemies be subdued. You are a superior person of ample resources, but the Pandavas are men of might. Protect yourself from them. Shape your conduct to safeguard yourself and your children from the Pandavas. Act in accordance with polity so that you do not have to repent." And having counseled Dhirtarashtra thus, O monarch, Kanika returned to his abode. And the men and women who were witness to the deeds of the Pandavas spoke openly about their excellence. Inside the assemblies or outside in the streets, the citizens took the name of Yudhishthira as the most promising ruler for the kingdom. And they said, "If Dhirtarashtra could not resign earlier because of his blindness, how can he be the king now?" But Bhishma, the honest one, having already given up the kingdom, will remain adamant in his vow. "Let the first Pandav rule the kingdom. Let us install him on the throne. He is young, truthful, and a favorite with the elders." Yes, he will keep Bhishma and Dhirtarashtra and the latter's children in happiness. Duryodhana heard of these remarks and was sorely vexed by the preference shown for Yudhishthira. Intolerant and jealous, he went to Dhirtarashtra and said, "O father, casting you and Bhishma aside, the citizens would have Yudhishthira for their king. Bhishma will have proof of this because he was renounced the throne. In days gone by, Pandu acquired the kingdom by virtue of his excellence, and you did not account of your blindness. If Pandu's son acquires the kingdom as an inheritance from Pandu, then the sons born in his family will claim the throne in the lineal pattern, and we, along with our children, shall remain the lowly ones in the royal line. O king, we shall be the ones spurned by the world. The citizens are out to cast us into difficult times. If sovereignty had been yours, we would have inherited it even if the subjects were not in favor. Therefore, O king, your rule must spare us the hell of lifelong dependence on other man's charity. Dhirtarashtra, whose perception was limited by the tidings he heard, pondered over the words of his son and Kanika, and he was disturbed. And Duryodhana, Dushansha, Karna and Shakuni conferred among themselves. Then Duryodhana came to Dhirtarashtra and said, "If you can send the Pandavas to the city of Varanavata under some pretext, we shall be rid of the fear of them." Dhirtarashtra thought over the words of his son and said, "The virtuous Pandav was even more beautiful to his kinsmen and more so to me. There was no joy that he did not share with me. He gave me his very empire. Pandu's son is equally virtuous and therefore held in high esteem by our subjects. The accumulated heritage of royal power gives him many allies. The counselors and the soldiers are all either Pandu's men or the offsprings of Pandu's men. The citizens too had been cherished by Pandu. Will they not slay us for the sake of Yudhishthira?" Duryodhana replied, "I have already foreseen this turn of events, and I have won over the powerful ones with gifts and endowments. The treasury and the counselors are now under our sway. Therefore, king, ensure the removal of the Pandavas to be Varanavata by some subtle plan. When my hold on the dominion is made firm, Kunti and her children may be put back." Dhirtarashtra said, "The same thought has crossed my mind too, but I did not speak it out to be lest it should be deemed wicked. Besides, Bhishma, Drona, Vidur, Kripa, not one of them will agree to send the Pandavas away. We and the Pandavas are equal in the eyes of those moral seers who know partiality. And therefore, how can we escape being the targets of the ire of these elders as well as of the citizens?" Duryodhana answered, "Bhishma will ever remain neutral. Drona undoubtedly will be where his son is, and his son Ashwadhama is with me. Kripa will be with these two. He will never abandon his nephew in Drona. Vidur is dependent on us, though in his heart he is with our foes. His lone help to the Pandavas is no threat. Therefore, remove the Pandavas and their mother, and with it the terrible hurt that robs us of our sleep." Then Duryodhana and his brothers began winning the people over with wealth and estates. And with clever prompting from the Dhirtarashtra, some courtiers began praising Varanavata. And they said, "The festival of Pashupati, famous all over for its sparkling glory, is to be held at Varanavata." These reports kindled the desire of the Pandavas to attend the festival. When the king came to know of the interest aroused in the Pandavas, he said to them, "I am repeatedly being told of the attractions of Varanavata. If you wish to witness the festival there, proceed to Varanavata with your friends in a befitting manner. Be free with gifts to the Brahmins and the musicians there. Have you fill of your pleasures there and then come back to Hastinapur." Yudhishthira saw through the eagerness of the Dhirtarashtra, but knowing himself to be powerless, said, "So be it." Duryodhana then secretly summoned Purochan, a trusted counselor, and said, "This earth, rich in its resources, is as much as yours as mine. So guard it carefully. No other counselor is as trustworthy as you are. Therefore, demolish the foes by doing as I bid. The Pandavas are to go to Varanavata at Dhirtarashtra's instance to partake of the festivities there. In a swift chariot, you must reach Varanavata and arrange to have a regal mansion built there not far from the city. Use inflammable ingredients like hemp and resin to build it. Let its walls be plastered with ghee, oil, tallow and lacquer. Let these be used profusely but concealed from even the discerning eye. When the mansion is built, invite Kunti, her sons and their friends to stay in it. Provide them with vehicles, soft beds and exquisite furniture as would please Dhirtarashtra. Then wait for the right moment and conduct everything in such a manner that nobody gets wise to our scheme. In due course, when the Pandavas start sleeping in trustful confidence, set fire to the mansion at the entrance. When they are found dead in the fire, people will not blame us. Ascending to Duryodhana's instructions, Puruchan went to Varanavata and carried out the orders of the prince. Meanwhile, addressing Bhishma, Vidur and Drona and Kripa, and Ashwadhama and Gandhari, Yudhishthira said in all humility, "We and the retinue are going to the pleasant town of Varanavata at the command of Dhirtarashtra. See us off with words of goodwill and faces aglow with smiles. Your blessings will ward off any danger there for us." The Kuru elders, pleased in mind, blessed them, saying,
"Let all the elements be favorable to you on your way. Nothing bad shall befall you."
And then the Pandavas bade farewell to the elders, embraced their confreres, accepted the courteous regards to the children, circumambulated the venerable ladies, and touched the feet of Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, Drona, Kripa, Vidur, and other elders. Then the distraught princes mounted their chariots with horses that were as swift as storm. Along with Vidur preceding them, the citizens followed the princes as they drove out. The distress of the Pandavas, however, affected the citizens who followed them, and they began to speak out. "How does Bhishma sanction the heinous act of casting them away from the city to a nondescript place? In the days gone by, our kings Vichitavirya and then Pandu ruled over with us with paternal care. Now Pandu is dead. The Dhritarashtra resents Pandu's children for the kingdom they have inherited.
The Dhritarashtra's intelligence is blunted by partiality and sees not what is right.
Neither the pure Yudhishthira nor the mighty Bhima nor the conquering Arjun will ever tread the path of sin. And then, are those fine sons of Madri capable of any wrongdoing?
Let us abandon the city in protest and go where Yudhishthira goes."
On hearing these sad words of the citizens, Yudhishthira reflected for a moment and then said to them with a heavy heart, "It is our duty to carry out the king's commands, because the king is to be revered as the father and the protector. You are our friends. Leave your blessings with us and return to your homes. And at the opportune moment, do for us all that is beneficial to us." And the citizens took leave of them and returned to their homes. After the citizens had departed, the wise Vidur spoke to Yudhishthira in the dialect of the Milakinus, which was unfamiliar to all but Yudhishthira. He said, "The blind one knows not the direction. Remember that one whose base is not firm loses all senses or values. He who is aware of the planned schemes of force should protein himself with foreseen calamities. He who acts in the knowledge that is not weapons of metal alone that prove fatal stands beyond the pale of danger. He will survive who preserves himself with knowledge that fire, which burns up forests in woods of winter, will not singe those in forest hideouts. He who accepts the non-metal weapons given by his foes can escape from fire if he takes recourse to a burrow with many exits. Go forth and you shall find the path. For one who has power over the five senses will never be overpowered." And Yudhishthira said, "I have understood." And Vidur, having cautioned them thus, returned to the city. And then Kunti said to Yudhishthira,
"Vidur spoke to you words which did not say anything, yet you agreed to what he said, and we have not understood anything. If it is proper for us to know that, we would like to know all that was said."
Yudhishthira then said, "First of all, he warned us of fire in the mansion built for us. He also informed me that no path of escape shall remain unknown to us, and those who can subjugate their senses will rule the world." I replied that I understood. And the Pandavas, armed with the counsel of Vidur, made their way to Varanavata. And thus ends the 7th session of our rendering of Vaishampayan's recital of Vyasa's immortal Ityasa, the Mahabharata. Stay tuned for the 8th chapter, which is called The Escape. Please like, subscribe and share this video. Thank you and namaste.